All right, guys, we're now live. So I'm joined with Cameron and my second favorite centrist buddy, James Fielding.
Oh, you're so kind. What can I say?
So yeah, and I just thought I'd do something a bit different. So we're just sort of this is sort of a stream just to wrap up this academic year just gone because uh, uh, well, I've actually finished my first year of uni today, and Cameron's finished his final year. So. Yeah, so Cameron, I guess you can start telling us a bit about like what you've been up to then. Cameron.
He's probably asleep. Anyway,
All right.
I'll. What about you? Talk about yourself. Your
Yeah.
first
All
year.
right. All right.
Have you experienced anything? Did anything like surprise you, or was there anything that was like I
Well,
said, took you by surprise?
so surprising. Well, uni. I honestly, it wasn't as daunting as I thought it would be. Actually, I mean, it only took me 2 weeks to fit in, and I wasn't really. I was anxious, but I wasn't actually really homesick at all. I'm actually uni sick when I'm at home. To be fair, I just prefer it here. I know it's
Mm,
the opposite for a lot of people, but yeah.
I
But
I never went to uni.
okay.
I did college, and then I thought I just couldn't be bothered with the sitting in class anymore. Sort of.
So you just get your hands dirty, go out to work, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, people would tell you what the best way is,
Yeah.
but it's all down to, for me, it's all down for personal choice. If
Yes.
you want to progress further in yourself, then
Ah.
uni might be the best way, but then you could say apprenticeships are the best way and things like that.
Yeah.
You can hear
But
both sides of the arguments and take the pros
mm,
and cons with it.
yeah.
Me personally,
Mm.
I just thought I can't be bothered with sitting in class for another 3 years, is it?
3 years.
Um,
3 years, and if you want to do a placement year, then that's 4 years.
yeah, exactly. But like for me, it's all about getting experience with stuff. But
Yeah, because you can just start putting
I
stuff
would, I
down in
would,
your CV just straight away, sort of thing.
yeah, I would never tell anyone not to go to uni or
Yeah.
you should go and get a job or the other way around,
Mm.
because again, it's all down to personal choice. But
Yeah.
yeah, so is your second year? I'm guessing it gradually gets more difficult as the first year, second year, and third year
Yeah,
goes
yeah, yeah.
on.
Workload increases a lot next year, and we have 4 group projects that we have next year. And what kind of sucks for the big one we have, which is year long, we're not allowed to choose our groups. The tutors actually choose the people for us. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get paired up with some decent people or total, what's the word, like leeches, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that is the only problem with, like, obviously when I've done group work before with college and
Uh,
school, high school, it's like you either you're either gonna do all the work,
mm,
or you're gonna have to or you're gonna be in a good group where you all work as hard as each other.
exactly.
To me, like if I was the tutor, I would be like, right, you pick your own groups, and if I find like that you're not working hard enough, or I find that that group's wrong, I'll change it, but not to automatically pick them all, because you might not get on with someone.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Mm,
but you might
yeah, exactly.
have a dislike for someone, so you won't be as confronting with them and get on with them. So,
Mm, yeah.
but I don't know about your uni course, but if Cameron is still here, or if he's not sleeping, um, what does normally happen with Cameron, I may add. Um,
Yeah.
I
So,
was going to ask
we were
him.
just chatting before you joined, and he must be asleep. I don't know.
No, it's kind of, it does come on and off. But anyway, I'll ask you anyway before Cameron joins. So most uni courses, it's like the first year, second year, and then you do a dissertation in the third year. Am I
Yeah.
right?
So with mine, I do a dissertation, and I do. Well, it's not. It's a bit weird because we do sort of an individual project. So we say we can make a program, we can build a website, we can do anything software related for our final year, but we have to do a 10,000 word sort of explanation with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna again, and I think a year older than Cameron.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
so a lot of my mates finished last year,
yeah.
um, their uni, and I was speaking to them, and they're like, "Oh, the dissertation, man, it took forever
Oh
and
yeah.
forever." Because I don't know about you, and Cameron may be able to explain. You have to like source everything. Like you have to write down what source you found. I'm trying to
Oh,
think of the word.
that's the bibliography. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think
Mm.
of the like the
Oh
official
my
word
God,
for it.
I had to do a 2,500 word essay that was due in at the end of March, and even that was hell.
Oh, I'm trying to think of what
It's
it's
giving, yeah,
called.
it's just giving us a taster for next year, for final year, I guess.
I'm just trying to think of the word that they call it. Oh, I can't think of it now. It's like not
What,
bibliography. It's where you have
uh,
to reference everything.
references, that's what it's
Harvard
called.
reference.
Harvard reference, yeah, 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 yeah. And
Yeah, that's it. I'm just trying
citation,
to think.
yeah, because you got the quote, and then you got and then you got like the year, and then you got like the page number, then you got the author. That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, I to me, I would lose my mind with that. Like
Oh God,
having
I
to
hated
reference.
that. It took me an entire day just to sort that out before submitting it.
Hmm, ain't nobody got time for that. But
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. So is your uni close to home?
Oh yes,
Or
20-minute drive.
oh, that's not too bad. So, what are your plans for the second year? Are you going to stay at home, or are you going to go in the?
I'm gonna stay at uni.
Are you going to stay at you? Oh, you was at
It's
uni now.
yeah, yeah. Because well, this not this now. I'll get onto that in a bit. But I was talking to my parents about this, and they're sort of trying to get me to commute, but you know, the bus services gradually got worse as the year progressed, and a few times it took me 2 hours to get home, and they were like, fair enough, if you want to live at uni next year, go for it. So I guess it was sort of a last straw thing with them,
Mm,
because it's I wouldn't well. The thing with my bus journeys is it's really inconsistent. Sometimes it can take me 40 minutes, sometimes it can take me 2 hours to get home, and I can't plan my journeys. So
well, yeah, like the bus
especially with
service is as
especially
bad
with
as here.
exactly, especially with my course, I don't know. It's like it's sort of like I don't know if I'm going to be on call for a group project or whatever. It's going to be
Mm.
impossible to determine. So if I used a bus, I couldn't do it. So
Can you not get a train? Is a train any quicker?
I'd say get a train, but I still what's the point? Because I still have to take a bus for 10 minutes to get back. There's no
Yeah,
point
I
in
guess
taking
so.
a train and a bus when I can take the bus straight. So it's a lose situation, really.
Yeah, I mean, so again, being uni related,
Uh,
obviously like tuition fees and student maintenance grants and things like that.
yeah.
Um, so are you? So it's £9,000 a year for tuition fees. Am I right?
Yeah.
And then like student maintenance and all that. What does that and student loans? How much does that roughly add up to?
I don't take student loans because I wouldn't consider myself lucky, but lucky is in my sense. But my parents are actually paying for all my uni.
Oh wow! Even
Uh,
like accommodation and stuff.
well, yeah, 500 a month I get for accommodation.
You get or your parents get?
No, I get from them.
Oh, from your parents, right? I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
don't. It's not loans because they're just like we have the money. We've saved up the money to do it. You might as well make the most of it because they've saved up the money. They're like, there's no point you having loans if you're gonna, if you're gonna have to pay it back and you're gonna pay interest on that. There's no point.
yeah.
So
Well, I've always been. This is probably why I'm a Lib Dem.
yeah,
This is. I'll always defend their right for tuition fees. I've never thought this should be free.
yeah.
Like me
Because
personally,
yeah,
I'm sure you might disagree, but me personally, I think if you want to further yourself,
yeah.
then you should pay for it, right? And why should people like me, the taxpayer, when you work, you might think, why should I pay
Yeah, but
for?
the main argument against that is that's not how tuition fees actually work. We're not actually paying for our own thing. It's actually we're sort of paying for other people's education. We're sort of putting it into some sort of pot. So we're not actually. You can't really use the argument argument that we're actually directly paying for our own education. It's a bit weird. I was reading about the system. It's a bit awkward.
No, we've like obviously you pay it back, but I think it's like 60% of tuition fees don't get paid back; they get written off.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I've noticed. Actually, the mentality of a lot of students here, they treat it as 3 years of partying. They don't treat it as 3 years of furthering themselves.
Well, exactly, and
A
that
lot of them.
and
That's exactly. They're like, to hell with that. I'm not going to pay back the loan anyway. I'll just use it up.
Well, that's the problem. Like, this is why, because you don't have to pay it all back, because most people won't earn over £25,000 a year.
Oh yeah.
Most people won't. Most people will be on like, I don't know, £15,000 to £20,000 a year.
Yeah, because on my degree, the starting salaries of 25 to 30, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, but
that's
if you get the job, sort of thing.
And that's a science and technology degree, which is in demand. So, and it might not be the same for other degrees.
Yeah, so if you don't earn over that amount, you don't pay anything back. So this is like with me, the best person to actually to look into on tuition fees. He actually explains it really well. Is Martin Lewis?
Okay.
You would have seen his face before. He like debunks all the myths that like both Labour Conservative do with like tuition fees. Use it as a political football. He's like, right. So if your student debt's say £50,000, right, and you earn over £25,000 a year, right, and you earn £25,000 a year. Say you pay, I don't know, I'm trying to think, what's 10% of 50,000? So £5,000, right? So over 12 months, it's less than that, but just say it is, right? Yeah. So say, right, you pay £45 a week, right? If you earn £50,000 a year and your student debt's £50,000, how much you pay? £45 a week. It doesn't matter how much you earn over that £25,000.
Yeah.
As long as you earn over £25,000, you pay back a certain amount.
It's so you 9%, isn't it?
I think so. I can't think of the exact figure, but yeah. So even if you earn £2 million, you only pay 9%. If you earn £25,000 and 1 penny, you only pay 9%. So it doesn't go up, regardless of how much you earn.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you earn £2 million a year, you can pay it back like that.
Yeah. But unless you're like a Jacob Rees-Mogg, you don't get that opportunity, do you?
Well, no, and that's the problem. A lot of students don't pay it back, so they treat university as a place where they go out, have a party, and meet new mates.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Exactly, they don't treat it as sort of an opportunity, if you will. It's just, I don't know. It's sort of like, because a lot of them are probably a more of a strict upbringing, especially like more Asian students, so they think of it as like the rebellious phase, if you will, as well.
Yeah, they're away from the parents, blah blah blah. I understand that. I can understand that.
I mean, I don't go out and drink and party, but I mean, I am rebellious in the sense I do stay up and play computer games, which I probably wouldn't be allowed to at home. So, like, doing these streams at 12 midnight, I probably wouldn't be able to do that at home either. So that's another thing.
Yeah, I guess so. I now live in a flat with my brother. We flat share. Up in Cheadle in Stockport. Again, a Conservative ward. Maybe a Lib Dem fight back over here though. The Lib Dems are only 4,000 votes off.
Ooh.
But saying that, I saw some like council election, and like Labour won some ward in the Cheadle area with like 80% of the vote. So
you were just like cringing inside, basically.
Yeah, my heart sunk. Like, ugh. Like to me, we had this debate in the chat before.
Yeah.
Like, I think Jack asked, who would you rather go in coalition with, the Tories or Labour?
Yeah.
And for me personally, it has to be the Tories. Like
Ah.
I know, right? And I'm not like a big fan of May, as you know,
Yep.
but the thought of Corbyn as Prime
Just
Minister,
makes your stomach turn.
it's literally like I actually fear what this country would be like if he was
So
leader.
you'd be like some sort of communist republic or something,
Not,
basically.
no, I would like his like not to that extent, but I literally think like he could single-handedly because these sort of socialists
Hmm.
are like the power hungry, right?
Oh yeah.
So when they're in power,
Hmm.
they don't want to let go of it,
Yeah.
right? So they'll do anything, any means or way. And for me, that scares me more than
Yeah.
a conservative.
The Tories do that though, don't they? Though I mean, Blair did that. I'll bring it Blair again.
I think you're thinking about the wrong type of socialist here. Because I think I know.
Well,
Well,
as you know,
I
Cameron,
think you know again. But there's
as
a lot of let's say authoritarian socialist leaders in the world. We can look at Venezuela, but some as far as I'm concerned, but I don't think communism is any form of authoritarian or power hungry actually. No. He didn't want to be liberally. He wanted to expand the debate actually. If it's going.
I mean, he basically get in at the last minute. Corbyn did.
Yeah. Like MPs are nominated him because to expand the debate.
Yeah.
I mean there were issues like railway nationalisation that was being ignored, and that's something that actually many Blair MPs actually believe in.
Yeah. But then a lot of people on the right also believe in railway nationalisation as well.
I don't. I don't, me personally, but
okay. No, but there's
generally,
two different types of right, really. There's the true right, so the more like so-called nationalistic type, and then you've got the so-called like centre neoliberal right, if you will. So like so you've got basically sort of like David Cameron type. So you've got the pro-EU, pro-immigration sort of right wing, and then you've got the more right wing sort of, strong controls on immigration, less free market type of right wing,
To me, the problem is. Sorry, I'm just eating, but the problem is with renationalising stuff is: do you trust the government with anything? That's just a question. Right now, do you trust the government with anything?
Well, this government, no, actually. But then again, I could say the same thing about private companies. I mean, they don't have our interests at heart either.
No, but would you trust the shadow health secretary right now, Ashdown or whatever he's called?
Ashworth, I think.
Would you trust him to run the NHS? I wouldn't. Would you trust Billy Bob to run stuff? Like, the less government, the better for me. Because
so you're sort of a libertarian then?
Maybe so, but to me, we should have. It sounds really bad, but we should have no government. Government should just be observing stuff.
Oh, G Whistler would be really happy if you heard that.
But that sounds really left wing. But the more control government have over things, the more self-interested government will. The government will have.
That you could say the same thing about private corporations, and you've seen. This is the age we live in. What I would call corporate fascism, where companies control everything now.
Well, maybe so, but like I've always said, the railways. Cameron will agree with me here because we use the same rail network. They are completely useless, but British Rail 20, 30 years ago, if you speak to your parents and your grandparents, they'll say British Rail was just as bad.
Yeah.
I actually talked to my dad about that. Now, what my dad said was the government's neglected British Rail on purpose to justify privatisation.
Oh yeah. Ring any bells, anyone? NHS.
Well, the NHS has been failing way before the Tories came into power. The problem with the NHS is that, again, there's too much self-interest in it. There's too many chiefs and not many Indians. I don't know if you've ever heard of that saying. Basically, there's too many people in glass houses and not enough workers.
Oh, so there's not. So there's big disparity.
Yeah, there's too many. There's too many blue-collared. It's like they have in the NHS. They have like 8 equalities executives who like why do you need equality like executives? Like, no, I don't really care if the doctor's white, brown, black, Asian, pink.
But it doesn't matter. They're a doctor. That's all that should matter, you know.
Exactly. So there's so much.
But it's just this PC agenda, isn't it? Really.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But to me, the NHS should be when our next government come into power, they should promise to properly investigate where every penny is spent, right?
That's right. What I'm saying. Well, my views on tax, because a lot of people are just, they just say, oh, raise taxes. Well, I'd say, no, actually. First of all, look where the tax is being spent. Divert more of that money towards public services. Crack down on tax evasion and avoidance. And also don't give tax breaks, literal tax breaks away to the rich. Then you wouldn't need to increase tax, you know.
No, I think if you actually asked the whole of the public, would you support a rise in tax for the NHS?
Yeah.
Then I think the majority of them would agree.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you raise taxes and it doesn't get spent on the NHS, and that's the problem.
That's the thing. My view on taxes, I should only pay tax if it's being used in my interest. I'm sure you'd agree on that, right?
Yes, but I would say the same with going back onto tuition fees. Why should I pay a slice of my taxes going to Tricia from Birmingham to study hair and beauty? Like, no offense to Tricia from Birmingham,
but I mean, and that's another problem actually. Like with the tuition fees, you're paying. There's a big disparity between the courses. Like my course, for example, I think it was 19 hours a week contact hours, and next year it's going to go up to about 21, 22. And I've heard, I was talking to some people, and they have friends who study, for example, I think psychology in like Nottingham or somewhere, and they only get 1 contact hour a week, and they still pay $9,000. You know.
I'm just speaking to Jack in the side chat. I think he mentioned something about revealing all the NHS's finances. I actually agree. I think they should be publicised where every penny is spent.
I mean, it's supposed to be a public service. You know, it should be public, isn't it?
Yeah, we should know where every penny is spent. Like, we pay our taxes. I want to know where it's gone.
Yeah, it's like if someone comes up to you and asks you for money, then you'd ask them like, what's it going to be used for? You know?
Yeah. There's tons, millions and billions of, well, not billions, but millions and millions of pounds wasted in the NHS that we don't know about. It's like things like, what was it before? I think it was like hand sanitizer cream or things like that. And it comes up to £3 a box. Yeah. It's like you can get it miles cheaper. Things like loo roll and bedpans and
loo roll?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they spend so much money on this that can be used so much cheaper. They can.
Yeah. But I mean, they do need loo rolls for patients, though. You know.
Yes, but it can be cheaper. The price of how much they buy it for can be cheaper. I'm not saying that. Obviously, the patients need a loo roll. Everyone needs loo roll, but the prices they spend on it should be cheaper. Missing appointments again. I've always thought if you miss more than 2 appointments, you should be fined.
Oh yeah. I mean,
if you
I'll just take the example of me. It's not a GP's appointment; it's a dentist appointment, and they said you have to cut. Well, I had missed appointments before, but they said you have to come to this one because this is your last free appointment. So you sort of, it's that sort of thing, isn't it?
What's the Tories again? But no, but if you come to A&E
Yeah.
if you're a regular A&E attendee and you're coming for like a paper cut or you've got a cough, that can be treated by your pharmacist or your GP, then too right, I think you should be fined. Like you are wasting.
So if you're leeching off it, if you will.
Yeah, it's like why do you need to be at A&E? Like you're wasting time and you're wasting money. You're practically bed blocking other patients being seen that are in need of that need the help, that are here for a genuine reason. I don't know if you've ever seen the photo. It's actually quite a poignant photo. It's like the NHS in the summer, and it's like a queue outside A&E, and it's like one person's got like hay fever, and then one person's got a skin problem, a skin rash or something, and it's like stupid things like someone's bruised a leg or something, and they're all queuing outside A&E.
I've heard that people have gone so far as to put cosmetic surgery on the NHS now. They've used that.
I've
heard people do that now.
Well, that's a bit stupid. If you want to improve your face or improve your body, get larger breasts or get smaller breasts or get a new nose or whatever, new lips, then you should pay for it.
Exactly. No, but I've heard people do that. On the NHS, they try and,
Obviously, if you've had you've had severe burns or something and you need to have a replacement nose, I don't know. Obviously, of course, that goes without saying. But I'm trying to think of something. Things like HIV, not HIV. What's it called now when you IVF, not HIV, IVF treatments. They cost the NHS thousands of pounds a year, millions of pounds, in fact. To me, I don't think that should be on the NHS either. I think if you want a kid and the wife can't naturally have a kid themselves, then you should pay for it. Why should I pay for someone to have a kid? Having a kid ain't the end of the world if you have one or don't have one. So I don't think the NHS should cover that either.
So you're thinking we should sort of separate like the essentials from the non-essentials, if you will.
Well, yeah, if you come to A&E with like a bruised leg or a bad headache or a bad cough, right? And if you do this regular, right, then you should be fined for it.
Yeah, I mean, let's say if you're, let's say if you come to A&E with a cough, and let's say if someone comes to the A&E, they've broken their nose, then surely they should be in front of you, I see where you're going from this, actually.
But just minor things like that, it's, to me, the NHS is waste so much money that can easily be saved and put into other parts of the NHS that need the money.
So sort of like redistribution of wealth within the NHS.
Yeah, you should, again, things like with IVF. Again, I don't think that should be on the NHS. Me personally,
so like cutting out the bullshit, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, people might debate with IVF because obviously the woman can't produce her own kids, so the IVF's the only way they can go. But yeah, I think they should pay for that. If the person wants a kid so much, then they should pay for it. The only reason I mentioned that is because the local hospital near mine, that is actually the founding home of the NHS, I may add.
Oh yeah, because you said you were invited to it.
I say it's near me. It's not near me anymore. I moved recently, but near where my parents and my grandparents live. Literally where my parents live, it's literally like 2 minutes away.
Oh, wow.
So they all got invited, the local community all got invited to like a big 70th birthday party of the NHS.
Yeah.
I think it's the 8th of July or the 7th of July.
Okay.
what will be quite good because
Hmm.
I'll go down because it's something we should be proud of.
Yeah, I mean, that's when people ask me what makes you British, I'd say the NHS.
Yeah, I would say so. I also think the people make Britain.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, the NHS is the most important thing this country has. To what we own, the most important thing. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health, then
yeah. I mean,
it doesn't
it's
mean
like
anything.
it's like with the economy. If you can't have your health, if you don't have your health, and you can't work, then you can't pay your tax.
Well, yeah. Obviously, then people should be benefited well. It's the people that are faking the stuff and faking being ill and stuff. And
Yeah.
credit to the Tory government. I actually think people complain about they get tested now.
But the
To
tests are
make
way
sure.
too hot. The tests are way. I mean, have you seen the amount of people that died who actually need
Oh,
help?
yeah, I totally sympathise with that. But there are people that are rigging the system, and these tests should prove that they are fit or not to work. I'm sure there are cases
Yeah, but the Tories
where,
put like people who are literally on the verge of death. They say they're fit to work and they die. Bit sad.
but again, is that down to because they're working, or is that down to because they're really ill?
No,
Uh,
that's not because they're working. Because they said like they're having benefits to like obviously help them live because they're like ill and they're like say if they have cancer or something they can't work, and then
but
they ask to come in for an assessment. And then they say, oh, you're fit to work, and your benefits are just cut, like not cut, just removed, and then they die.
well, right. Again, I'd need to look at cases where that
Yeah.
has happened with
Yeah,
people with.
I'll send. I saw a video on this. I'll send you later, actually.
Well, that's fine. I'm not one of these people that will like continuously stick up for them. If I see something wrong, I'll say it.
Yeah.
If you show me a case where a cancer patient has been deemed fit to work
Mm.
and then gone to work and passed away because work was
Yeah.
like too stressful, if that makes sense, and cause with people like that, if they've gone to work and they've just died and passed away, that's not natural, but it happens. Is
Yeah.
it down to because they worked? Were they fit to work at the time and then just passed away while they were working?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the cases, it's probably like 0.1% of cases that this happens, but it gets highlighted. But yeah, obviously, if there are cases that has happened, then the government should apologise, and the department that issued the person fit to work should face the consequences.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah,
in the side chat, it's actually privatization. They said why people are dying is because the companies that they hired had targets for declaring people fit to work. They were paid in relation to those targets, apparently.
again, to be fair, I don't know enough about it to have an opinion on it. But again, I'll say if there are people who are getting assessed and they are suffering from a terminal illness or their cancer, and they are found deemed fit to work,
Yeah.
and then pass away whilst at work,
Yeah.
then is it down to that they have been stressed because of work, or has work caused a sudden death, or is it just because they were ill? People can be ill and still work. I know people who have got cancer and still work. That doesn't. Some people obviously have chemo and stuff and can't work because they are naturally unwell after having chemo. But there are people who have got cancer and have got other illnesses and can still work.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's the Tories' fault that they pass away.
And Jack James says it's 120,000 people, government's own statistics. Oh,
Um, I did see something on that. Again, I'll have to read into it more. I'm sure the Tories haven't caused 120,000 deaths. But again, I could be wrong, and if I
It
am,
wouldn't
I'll
be above
apologise.
them, to be honest. I don't think it'd be
Well,
above.
I mean, I won't. I'm not a
Yeah.
totally.
You
I
winding
won't,
shaft up. So James is boiling my piss right now.
that's fine. I normally boil enough piss as it is.
Yeah.
With you people. At the end of the day, my opinion ain't always right, and neither is everyone else's. This is a room to debate stuff.
Yeah.
Shafted is
Exactly.
more than welcome to debate with me, and I'm more than welcome to respond back to him anytime.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to discuss anything else. What else has been in the news as of late? I mean, there was. Oh yeah, that was it. The big vote. There's a big vote in Parliament. I think it's the 14th of June.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that week anyway. Week commencing the 14th of June.
Yeah. You sound a bit muffled.
Oh, sorry. Is that any better?
Yeah. That's better.
Yeah. There's a big vote in Parliament on the 14th of June regarding the customs union.
Yeah.
And it's widely predicted if the government lose, then it's more than likely that Theresa May will have to resign, because obviously this will completely fluff up her negotiation stance, because all what she's banged on about for the past 2 years is we are leaving the customs union no matter what. And then if Parliament decide, if Parliament then decide to keep us in the customs union, she won't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
And maybe I think we'll actually remain in the customs union. I think both the Tories and Labour don't have. I don't see a solution round Ireland where we don't.
I've heard that it's going to extend to 2023, apparently.
Well, this is the problem. We were meant to leave in 2016, and now it's 2023. This is 7 years after the vote.
2019 actually.
Well, the vote was in 2016.
2016, but it's 2 years of negotiation.
Yeah. So, but the country decided to leave in 2016, right?
That's 7 years. I mean, that's two years after I graduated, even.
Well, exactly. And, in 7 years, in 2023, you could have, I doubt it with you personally, but you could have a different opinion on the European Union.
Yeah, I could, yeah. But it all depends if the bureaucrats in Brussels wake up. It all depends.
Well, yeah, obviously, but you could. The majority of people in this country in 2023 might want to remain.
Yeah.
Then this goes back to, should we have a vote or not?
Yeah.
Come the end of when we decide to leave, because, like I said, in 2023, a lot of people might change their minds. They might not. The country might be 60% to leave, but we don't know that for fact. The polls at the moment regarding this is like, it's neck and neck anyway. It's like similar to like the referendum in 2016.
I think it's going to remain consistent. But I've heard Cameron's not here anymore, but if he was here, he would say, if there was a second ref, there'd be a bloody fight on the left, because you'll have more people on the left that will come out to leave, and it'll be even more divided.
I think with the left, I think there's not many left-wing politicians out there, like true left-wing.
Yeah.
Compared to like right-wing politicians.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of normal for them to be marginalised. Like, there's probably 30 or 40 politicians that are like to the left wing, or and Eurosceptic left at that.
Yeah.
The problem that
because I've heard that apparently I think it was about 40 Labour MPs secretly voted leave, and they were all sort of the left faction, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think Corbyn probably voted leave, and
Yeah,
then probably
I
like
McDonald
McDonald
did.
voted leave as well.
He's probably even more left wing than Corbyn, so he probably voted leave too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, this is why I actually think the Remain campaign lost was
Yeah.
because the Labour Party didn't know what really to, whether you remain or whether you leave.
Because, I mean, they had to balance it between the constituencies of the members, didn't they?
Well, yeah, and this is why I'll always debate with you on this: is Corbyn a principled man? Because if he was so principled, then he would have backed the Leave campaign if he was a closet leaver.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, because I've heard that people. I read this on Twitter that people within his CLP actually said Corbyn backed Leave on a sort of a left wing Leave platform, but he campaigned for Remain apparently.
he was never like a, no, I won't say a true Remainer because I don't think many people are true Remain, but
Reluctant Remainer.
Yeah, he
It's
didn't
like
do
with
enough.
Theresa May. I think she's a reluctant neither.
To me, to be honest with Theresa May, I don't think she actually has an opinion on it. Like,
Remember when she was interviewed on LBC and then she declined to answer.
Yeah, that's a typical politician's answer, though, isn't it? Just answer the bloody damn question, woman. If there's another vote tomorrow, who would you vote for, Remain or Leave? I'm not asking you for the Morse code, sort of thing. It's like, if you ask me that question, it'd be to Remain. If I ask you, it'd be to Leave. But I guess if she said to Leave, then she should, like, if she's leading the negotiations, surely she'd want to leave now. But she didn't answer that question. To be fair, I don't actually think she has an opinion on it.
Because I think she's just in such a shit show. She just needs to save her ass, keep her ass together.
Like, I've been going with this with Angels as well. Like, she is literally the worst Prime Minister I've ever seen. She has no opinion on anything.
She just walks into a room and she's like, oh, okay, strong and stable. That's
what
isn't
do you mean? What do you mean she has no opinion? You said she would personally bring back fox hunting. She wanted, she could.
No, she wanted that. No, she wanted a free vote on fox hunting. She didn't want to bring. She personally wanted to keep. She wanted fox hunting.
Look, if she wanted to vote on it, she obviously wanted it back.
Yeah, let's have a look. Theresa May voting record. Let's have a look at a voting record of fox hunting.
She probably supported, but like, fox hunting ain't winning you in a general election, like, sort of thing. But no, she doesn't have do you know her economic position? What does she stand for?
Yeah, I'm having a look now on her voting record. She voted against the hunting ban. Voted against smoking bans too. Voted against human rights laws. Yeah, and she voted. Almost always voted for use of UK military forces in combat operations abroad. So 9 votes for, 2 votes against, and she voted all the time for the Iraq War. She voted for investigations. She voted for replacing Trident with a new nuke system.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you actually look at previous prime ministers, you knew what Cameron stood for. You knew what, even if you disagree with the people, you knew what they stood for. You knew what Blair stood for. You knew what Thatcher stood for. With Theresa May, she doesn't stand for anything. She's just like the invisible man, or invisible woman, I should say.
I mean, and then it's like one day, when she was campaigning to Remain, she's like, oh, we must remain for economic prosperity and whatever, and then she's like, Brexit means Brexit the next day, that sort of thing.
Right.
Nope. I can't. Sorry, mate. I can't hear you. What's wrong with your mic?
I was just reading off some Theresa May taglines like Brexit means Brexit.
Strong and stable leadership in the national interest.
Like, what does Brexit mean? Like, are we going to leave this? Are we going to leave that?
It's just marketing slang. That's all it is. It's marketing.
Like, what's a red, white, and blue Brexit? Are we like painting the French flag or something? It's like, Jesus Christ! Like, come on! name something that we're gonna do.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, that's Jack James, mate. Jack James says in the side chat, disagree. No one knew what Blair stood for. 2020 hindsight. You know.
well, I'm sorry, Jack, to disappoint you, but you know, Blair won 3 elections, so I think the majority of the people in this country knew what he stood for.
Well, not in the first time. I was talking to a lot of family, and they said they were tricked by Blair in '97. And they, you know.
Well, look, when Blair got in, a lot of people basically left the airport. The membership was plummeted.
Yeah.
But saying that, Cameron, they won 3 elections, 3 majority elections, and when was the last time that happened for a Labour government, a Labour Party itself? It's all right.
By basically starting out the principles of Labour Party.
And, they scrapped Portsmouth as well, didn't they?
Yeah, the red flag became an embarrassment of them. They transformed to another point, essentially, under Blair. Well, he started on the Kennels, perhaps. But.
Question for James. Has nothing changed?
Is Andrew trying to trigger me or something?
Yeah.
Like,
well, nothing would change with the Tories.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
Oh my god, that was like I can actually remember that day. I was watching it on my phone, and that Laura Kunsberg was questioning her, like, you've invented this new policy.
This dementia tax, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then you've changed your mind on the cap. How much will the cap be? Will it be 100,000, 250,000, 2 million? How much is the cap? And then she just flipped out, me. She just like, to be fair to her, to give some credit to her, she's like actually shows some like proper like character for it. She was like, she shouted like Corbyn is like
maybe she triggered like is it a special function in the Maybot or something?
It's like she had like some intellectual like malfunction, and she like became human for once.
Yeah, but that's the failsafe, isn't it? The robotic failsafe.
Yeah, it was like, and then she was just like, nothing has changed, and it just like, what? Like literally, what? Something has clearly changed. Just admit it, for crying out loud, woman. And then I said to my dad, I said, that is the moment she's lost the majority. She is totally gone against her word of being strong.
But then again, you know how they say, they're spinning stuff against Corbyn? I mean, that's the ultimate like spinning tool against her, isn't it, after all that fiasco?
Yeah, and to the thing is as well, this was during the time when the Shadow Home Secretary, Diane Abbott, was going on to like radio.
Oh, and then she's like, we pay £300 for policemen, wasn't it? Is that one?
Yeah, it was like, well, 100,000 police officers are now going to earn £8 a year due to earn that. And still, that trumps nothing had changed.
Oh.
But yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch any of that. Why is it lowering the volume like that?
I don't know. It's pulling my phone. But what I was saying was, Diane Abbott like went on LBC and said £8.
Is that one? Was Nick Ferrari, I think.
Yeah, and like even that wasn't as bad as the Prime Minister saying nothing had changed. So what I did, I went down to I actually did it on my phone. I said it's going to be a hung parliament, and I won, and I won some money. And I think I said Labour would win 260 seats, or 200. It was between 250 and 270 anyway.
Oh wow!
So I actually won 2 bets. I actually had a couple other bets. I said Theresa May would resign, and I think I had another one saying that. I can't remember the other. I think it was like. I think I said Corbyn would resign as well. Obviously, both of them didn't happen, but I did win 2 out of the 4. What I was pleasantly surprised about.
How much money?
So I normally have a 5 bet, so I think it was 5 on hung parliament. What was it 8-1? So I won £40 back on that, and 250 to 269 seats was again, I think it was like 5-1 or something. So I think I won like 70 quid back.
Oh, nice.
That's not too bad.
Oh.
But I've currently got two £5 bets on the next Tory leaders. Well, who I'd lied to are Sajid Javid or Michael Gove. Not who I want, but I think them two will
If I
probably
was
be
a Tory leader, you probably guess which one I'd pick.
Oh, you'd probably pick someone like Ken Clark then, wouldn't you?
Oh no.
No, probably someone like Mog or Boris.
Not Boris. I'd pick Mog.
Like, to me, I don't get it with him. Like, what is so good about him? Is it because he talks like funny?
I love his posh mannerisms. First of all, I just love it. It makes me laugh.
Again, this is what I'm fearing. Like, people like you who are like Labour voters are getting turned on by Mog.
Yeah.
Will a lot of people be the same?
Hi guys.
Oh my God! Who?
I have to be super quiet. I'm like literally locked in the freaking bathroom.
Oh. Okay. Is he not asleep yet, or?
I've tried my best, but not yet. I think he will be shortly, but I was just gonna say what I will do is I wanted to give you a quick tour of the tiny bathroom. So wait a second, let me.
Yeah, I'll pin you.
There we go. There's me in the thing. There's the toothbrushes and all the shit on the side, and just so you know, that's contact lens stuff. But I'm not the blind one around here. There's the tiny shower, all the stuff which is mainly actually mine. Yeah.
Oh wow. The bathroom in my room at uni is literally double the size of that bathroom.
Oh no, it's tiny. It's literally tiny. Right, that's like one of my one of my wash bags. Toilet, great. And yeah, this is where I've locked myself into just to speak to you lot.
Oh, you're dedicated.
I'm so dedicated. Am I right?
Yeah.
But like no, I was gonna add though to James. No, that was right. Like the moment it was the nothing has changed, I was like, oh my God. Honestly, you know that meme of like Ryan Reynolds going,
yeah.
That was me. I was like, oh my God, no way. I will turn my camera off because it makes me lag. But yeah, it was just absolutely horrendous. I mean, I felt at that point I was like, okay, all right, they are trying to throw this. I'd like, me and James always bang. I know that we bang on about it loads, but it's true. Like, if you're like a centrist and you then have to face something like that, you're like, what?
Yeah. Nothing has changed.
Yeah, it was just awful. But then that was kind of the icing on the cake, though, wasn't it? Because don't you remember that before that, she had refused to turn up for the debate?
Was it the big one where Corbyn turned up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because was it Amber Rudd and her dad died at like 2 days before?
2 days before, and then Amber Rudd had to show, and then there was obviously the bucket of sick manifesto.
It was cancer.
Just horrendous. And I'm like, seriously, these guys are trying to throw off this goddamn election because I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I might be, yes, I'm into my conspiracy theory. Like, I like a bit of the conspiracy kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But I mean...
it was, I've heard that it was, I think it was Jeremy Corbyn's brother who said that she did it so she could betray Brexit.
Yeah.
That's why you should do the election.
Yeah, that's maybe true. Now, her advisors who ran the election were Nick Timothy. Who's the other one? That's Fiona something.
Fiona Hill.
Yeah, who are they and what they're doing now?
Yeah.
That's those questions. In my opinion, that's possible.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It was because like a million things can be said for it, right? Because I was like, well, whilst I might not agree with the Conservatives in the direction they went, especially after the Brexit vote, right? It was like they're not that unsavvy, are they? Like they know how to cling on
Yeah,
to
but
power.
I mean, they've
and
got
they
the
know-
money, they got the marketing, don't they?
Yeah, and so it was so bizarre to me that they would just be so horrendous on every single level, and I was like, well, what? Like this seems almost like it's rigged to fail. Like it was that bad.
Yeah.
And then James is right. Like the nothing has changed moment was me as Ryan Reynolds, like face palming, going, "Oh my lord!" Like yeah, and actually in that.
Because James said he reacted to it live. Did you see it live as well?
I did, yeah.
Oh my god!
And I was absolutely horrified. But then,
So where were you? Were you in Holland or?
no,
Yeah.
I was in the UK. I think I remember watching it because I was glued to kind of all of the speeches and stuff.
Oh yeah. I was as well, to be fair.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my lord. But also I was just like, how can this be? Like, how can this actually be? Like, they are so much more savvy than this. Like, something doesn't really add up. You know what I mean?
But it's the media, isn't it? It's like how they spun Theresa May to be like the next Margaret Thatcher, and it just fell apart when she went outside her little media bubble.
I don't think it was only just that. I think it was like I think it was like no matter what they tried to spin her as, it was obviously not, you know, the type of personality that she was, that she had. So it doesn't really matter who was behind it per se, as to whether it was the media or, you know, her quote unquote advisors. And I mean, I actually think it's almost like, was Nick Timothy and Fiona Hill, for example, were they actually conspiring against her? Because it looks like they were doing everything they possibly could to make her out like the most unelectable of people you've ever seen. So I'm like, oh
my god. And now there's rumours, obviously, next election between August to November-ish.
But I mean, I don't know. But
I hope there isn't.
Well, what I'm saying is, I found it very suspicious. It almost looked like it was rigged.
Yeah.
Because it was that awful.
Yeah.
And I still stick by it too, because I can't believe it. Like when I look at footage back, I'm like, wow.
So it's just like you just can't get your head around, no matter how much you look at it.
No, and normally I'm quite good at sort of evaluating stuff and being like, okay, you know, this is, and especially since I'm not, like, as you guys know, I'm not like pro-Conservative, pro-Labour, so I like to think, at least, I don't think anyone's unbiased, but I like to think at least that I can see stuff in, you know, quite a balanced sort of light. But even now, I look at it and I'm like, wow, like how could that even have happened? Like how could she have come out with that kind of thing? Like
I mean, it's second only to when John Major was the 97 election when he lost his majority through by-elections, and then he had all these deaths and scandals all over the place as well.
Yeah, and then they had like this string of totally useless leaders, and then of course that led to the Tony Blair landslide in 1970.
Yeah, and then they copied Blair with Cameron. And then he got it.
The thing is as well though, is like she ran the campaign on on Theresa May. She didn't run it on the Conservatives. She ran it on. It was vote for me, vote for me, vote for me.
Vote for me. I will negotiate for you in Brussels.
Right.
So why on earth, with such an unstable and clearly just not even relevant character, why would you run a personality campaign? I would even understand.
They've been building her up for the past year as a strong and stable Thatcher type leader, you know.
Okay, but I mean, most people do that. That was like a bit of a joke phrase because they overused it so badly. But like, if you're going to go for personality politics, you play someone like Mog.
Oh yeah.
Right. So you do that and you play off his personality.
I mean. he has humour, he has charisma, that sort of thing. But Theresa May didn't have that.
No, like none of it. That's the entire thing.
Well, look, personality politics often fails in this country. Now, I can talk about what a real representation where Churchill did the same thing as Theresa May in terms of personality politics and lost. It's not something that works in this country actually that much.
Well, having said that though, say what you want about Blair, but he did have charisma for that particular time, and he did.
Oh yeah,
he won 3 times.
I was rewatching a lot of the '97 campaigns. Actually, I was rewatching it.
Read the Birds have made an exception, but generally, that's not the case. Actually,
the thing is for me is if you actually go and watch back a speech from by Theresa May about this time last year, and it's always I or me or
yes, you're right. It is,
and if you look back now, it's we the Conservatives. We are. It's not me or I.
So they've had to alter it.
Yeah. So to me, they're the sort of things I look out for in campaigns. I don't look out for the big major policies. It's just small things like that. Are you actually for yourself or are you actually for the party you represent? It's like when I get like leaflets through the door, like because my ward's a marginal ward, so it's quite important for the Lib Dems and the Conservatives. So they'll be knocking on your door every day throughout the election. And when I was speaking to like the Lib Dem candidate, well, he isn't like full like. He's a Remainer, obviously, but he isn't like, we shouldn't be. I've said to him, I back what the Lib Dems stand for in some stances, but my big problem is with them is that they are bashing on Brexit too much. They should try and focus on a bit more domestic policies, what would appeal to lost Conservatives and lost Labour voters.
Yeah, like more of a positive sort of thing.
Yeah. And he agrees as well. He thinks the national campaign at the last election from the Lib Dems was quite poor. It didn't help with Tim Farron and that gay sex question.
Oh yeah.
I do feel like that was overplayed, if I'm honest.
Oh yeah, I agree. But and he agrees. He was like, we should go on a bit more domestic policies. But then again, this is the same with the Conservatives as well. They bash on about Brexit. And we've said before, Range Rules, Brexit ain't that important.
No, it's not. Not to the average person.
A lot of people in this country just want to get on with it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We don't want to hear about it on the news 24/7. I shared a video in the chat.
In the bullet chat?
Yeah, a few days ago, it might have been today. It was like, we voted for Brexit. That doesn't mean we have to talk about it for the rest of our lives. Now, to me, obviously I didn't vote for Brexit, but we don't have to talk about it 24/7.
I agree. And like I said, even though obviously it was like it wasn't necessarily representative of like the national electorate, because my sample size would have been much smaller, but what I heard on the doorstep in the locals was that people are sick to death of it. Honestly, they were so sick of it. They were just I was talking to a lot of Remainers, because it was like 50-50 in that person, like in that constituency. So I was talking to both, people that voted both, and they're just fucking sick of it, and they're worried about other stuff like their kids' futures and education and healthcare, and like even the smaller local stuff, like I was saying, bin collections and potholes and roads and parking and like housing and all of this. And so how people can't recognise that is beyond me.
My main, even as a hardcore Leaver, my main issue with both the Labour and the Tories is they don't focus on their post-Brexit vision, what they can do, what we do after Brexit. They're focusing on it too much.
Sorry, Angels, but I actually agree with you. I actually think, now this is more down to the Conservatives, and why I fell out of love with them is it's been nearly 2 years since the referendum vote.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nothing has been done.
And like, we don't know, are we going to leave the customs union, the single
Nope.
market? Is there going to be an immigration? What's the immigration targets? What's the funding for the NHS? What's the post-Brexit trade deals? Right? What's our trading relationship after we leave the EU? Things like that. Right?
It's
And
all
Liam
wishy-washy,
Fox
isn't it?
Right, and Liam Fox, the trade secretary now, came out the day after the EU vote and said, getting a trade deal from the EU will be one of the easiest things to negotiate.
He
So
said
why
it.
did
Didn't he say it would take 3 days?
right? And we're 2 years afterwards, and we are nowhere near clearer to getting a trade deal.
Liam Fox, though, they have tried to bury him with all their might because he is about as much used as a chocolate fire guard. Like, I mean, he is just useless. But I feel like a lot of the Brexit lineup are fucking useless. Like, I think we can all agree now that David Davis most certainly is. And Liam Fox has been buried from the beginning because he's obviously an absolute idiot. And then who's Boris, our dear old foreign secretary.
Oh,
So
God.
if we're to look at the lineup of fucking clowns, I don't think we could do much better, could we? Really?
Yeah.
Well, look, this is why I always say I was reluctant to leave because I was thinking about the same thing about the service party and what we're going to do. Look, the thing is that the main aim is no matter what happens is to put a Labour government in. And the reason behind that is we see how incompetent these people are, how selfish, how
Well, incompetent, really. I mean,
incompetent, malicious, all of the above. I mean,
I think they're really our government certainly at the moment is truly scraping the fucking barrel. And Pete, you know how people say, oh well, because Theresa May's not been replaced because of Brexit. I disagree. I think it's because they don't have anyone who is viable.
no, it's because they're frightened of. If right, we don't have a majority. That's a DUP that could basically renege the deal. They do it in 2019 anyway, but and then we have Corbyn. Now, when Corbyn goes into campaign mode, he's a very decent person.
He is quite strong.
I think the frightened mode. Yeah, because as soon as you get rid of me, the man and necessity for another election is going to bubble up to unbearable level. So I think they're basically trying to do the inevitable as long as they can.
The thing is,
That's what the Tories do. You know, that's what they're good at.
What happens though if and I'm sorry, I still have to kind of keep my voice down a bit because I still can't hear snoring. But what happens if, stroke when, because I think it might be inevitable anyway. What happens if they can't replace somebody with somebody viable? Because I think that Jacob Rees-Mogg is highly doubtful to end up being like the last person standing, so to speak. So if we're talking about, I don't really want this, of course, because I think they'll be awful. But like I say, we have Gove or Boris. I think that might arguably sink them even further. So it's like we're sort of in a lose-lose, like for people like James and I, right? That is our worst nightmare because then we have Corbyn on one, so it's literally clowns to the left of me, jokers to my right.
here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
It's good to see the central suffering for once. It's basking in power. Right? Anyway,
Well,
you better pull your socks up if you're going to be my future husband, you asshole.
Well, the thing is, Cam, as well, I don't want to get involved with your marriage problems with angels, but what I will say is if we do get like a Jacob Rees-Mogg or a Boris, right, that doesn't mean like we're going to get like the best Brexit deal possible because, you know, these things have to... No,
whenever I said that.
Let him finish.
No, I never said you said it, Cameron. I'm just saying what people have said. Like, people say, oh, if we appoint Mogg, then we'll leave the EU and we'll leave everything. But you've got to remember, Parliament have to decide what happens, right? Mm-hmm. And I believe if we got Mogg in, it would be 10 times worse because the Tory Remainers would be like, bollocks.
Fuck
No
that.
chance.
Yeah,
I'm,
no,
no
divided
chance.
even more.
No chance. I'm listening to him.
What was
Same
that
with
for?
Boris. So they've got no majority, like
Mm.
in Parliament. So they're not going to pass anything through with a hardcore Brexiteer. What I think they need, the Conservatives, they need someone like Javid or Williamson that is like a bit of both. Like he
Yeah,
can
a
appeal to
like a Clive Lewis of the Tories type of
yeah,
thing.
someone who can appeal to both sides
Okay.
and have a bit of personality about them.
Okay, yeah.
I doubt that's Gavin Williamson out of anyone, but I'm thinking of someone like Justin Greening for that role. But
Yeah, she's quite agreeable actually. Yeah.
perhaps
I mean,
Matt
it would have
Hancock.
been Amber. It would have been Amber Rudd before all of this stuff with the
Well,
Windrush, wouldn't it?
May was before that. May was basically popping up Amber Wood as a successor. You could tell.
Mm.
One of the most important jobs taking in debates. The Tuesday may actually favoured it even before she
Like,
became
if you
leader.
think about it now, though, I think that lots of candidates that were previously considered, much like my dear old MP, Salad Fingers, like he's now dead in the water because of all his U-turns and the fact that he appears just to have about as much charisma as like a corpse, basically. So I feel like they're scraping the barrel big time. Like I can't see their way out of this, if I'm honest. And unless they got like a Ruth Davidson or someone along those lines, I think they are royally screwed.
Well, there's already a handful that has been to be sent to the 1922 committee. They have over 40 signatures, right? Need 48. So it could happen at any time.
Can you guys? Is there anybody watching at the moment? By the way, because I can't see the side chat because I'm locked in the bathroom with my phone, so I can't see the side chat.
There's Jack James and Sharpshooter in the side chat and Bob Ellis as well. So.
Okay, what do they reckon about sort of the whole thing?
Do
they reckon the Conservatives are really scraping the barrel too?
Yeah.
Like there's no outright looting per se.
What the Tories need, James, is to get the fuck out.
Well, I mean, I think they sort of have to. I think for me, I am extremely worried about the nature of politics in the country overall, whether it's a Conservative government or a Labour one, for that matter, right?
Because I think Brexit, especially, I think it sort of saw the rise of the left and the right, if you will, a death of the centre.
You mean like the hardening of both?
Yeah, because what I've said before is Brexit, it was true left and true right versus a centre. That's what I thought.
I think to a degree you're probably right. I don't think that's entirely representative though, because I think that there are some people who view themselves as moderate voters.
Angels are asking you and James about this. I'm curious what the Liberals think of the new Italian coalition.
Yeah, can I just answer that question before Angels? I know the Brexiteer Jack James asked. I just want to remind us all that he is a Brexiteer. I know he doesn't like that phrase, but I will remind him that he is a Brexiteer. What I think about the Italian coalition, is it with that Leonard and...
Lega Nord and Five Star, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very unstable one.
Yeah, again, like, is it the... Oh, it's the other one. It's not the Lega Nord. It's the other one. What they call the Five Star Movement.
5 Star Movement, yeah.
Because they're like, you've got some parts of the party that are like
very
Jeremy Corbyn socialist,
very
and then you've got like Jacob Rees-Mogg far right.
They call themselves Big Tent, don't they?
Yeah, but then every party's a big tent, so to me that's a bit like suspect in itself. But the reason why that combination is particularly unstable is because their ideas clash so badly in certain areas, and I personally don't think it's going to last. I reckon there's going to be another GE in Italy within a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, so to answer the question to the Brexiteer Jack James, I actually do. I agree with Angels. I can't see it lasting that long because with things like a broad church sort of parties, there's always going to be disagreement And you just have to look at the.
You've seen that for the past 2 years.
Well, you just have to
3
look at
years
the Labour
before Billy
Party
Clinton,
itself,
actually,
don't you?
3 years.
Well, Labour and the Tories, really, to be honest. Like, yeah.
So, to be honest, Jack, I don't think it'll last too long. But I also don't think they'll go with the plans of having like a referendum on the EU and referendum on the Euro. I think that would just like empty rhetoric to try and get to persuade voters, to be honest.
And it makes a good point. I actually saw this, what Jack James is referring to about the poll. It's like, has the EU benefited your country? Do you disagree with it? And Italy was the highest on the poll, is in the most Eurosceptic, actually.
I like the Italian people, but again, they've always seemed to be a bit right-wing anyway. They're kind of like the continental version of the UK. They always seem to have a chip on the shoulder. Angel travels a lot, so maybe she has a more vested opinion on Italian people. But when I've ever been, they always seem to have some sort of like chip on the shoulder, us against the world sort of attitude. I think that's quite similar to. Maybe so, but I think it's quite similar over here. Like, a lot of people in the UK think that the EU is like some massive, awful thing, and again, I think the Italian people possibly think that too. I think the British. I don't know about you, Angels. Obviously, you travel a lot, so
I do. Certainly, there's a degree of suspicion amongst the Italians. I haven't actually, to be fair, like I don't travel there a lot. It's not one of my main languages anyway, but I have travelled there a lot previously. And yes, there is a degree of kind of suspicion there, but then they're slightly, if I'm to be honest, they're slightly sort of away from what I would call the more progressive Western Europe. So being down south, they're obviously slightly physically, as in geographically, separate.
And also they've been hit by the migration crisis, one of the worst, haven't they, as well?
They have too, which obviously is going to make a massive difference. But also, I feel like that combined with, I think it's James has knocked the nail on the head when it comes to that they both Britain and Italy, have reacted in a certain way. I feel like Britain does it because it's an island nation, and that kind of thing. Here, for example, in Holland, is totally and utterly different. Whilst you do have Euroscepticism, it's way less. It's just normal for people to sort of be pro-EU. Like, it's just normal. Like, you cross borders, it's totally normal. And they don't really understand waiting at airports or ports, and they're like, what?
Oh, okay.
what are you on about?
Taking it for granted, sort of thing.
Yeah. They have no idea. And when I said, oh my God, I am going to have to when my friend Skyda from New York came to stay, right? She was in this snake queue, and it was only at Paris Nord, right? The station, and all we were doing is getting the fucking Eurostar back to London. I go straight through, I scan my passport, I'm sitting in the bar for a fucking hour before she even gets through, and they start to cross-question her about what's going on and who she's visiting and all this, and I'm like, what? I am not doing that. Honestly, over my dead body, am I going to join that queue? Ever? Yeah. Because to me, normality isn't that. I've been able to travel with work.
Yeah, and that's what they were talking about with the e-referendum. You had sort of the older people who voted in 75, and then you had sort of the younger people who, have been under the EU their whole lives,
Because that to me is normal. My job, I suppose it's a little bit different for me in the sense of that because I do have to travel to Europe for my job, it's almost key to have quick movement between countries and stuff. But But yeah, I was like, what? To actually go out of your way to choose that kind of snake queue and then be cross-questioned by like a bunch of assholes? No thanks. Like, what? Why do people even want that? I don't get it. But yeah, I feel, anyway, sorry, my main point was that James is right. I feel like Italy and the UK have always been like 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the EU anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas,
but it's gonna be way harder for Italy because they've got Eurozone and Schengen and a few other things, haven't they?
Exactly. Exactly. So I feel like they've been shafted from many sides in some ways. And for me to lie and say that I think that the EU has served Italy well, I'm not going to do that. I don't think it has. But I didn't vote to stay because I think it's perfect. I've always said from the word go that it has, in my view, fundamental flaws. But if they are to change, I don't feel like crashing out and being all isolationist on our arse is the way to go about it. Because I always knew that there was going to be no majority for a hard Brexit. That therefore means that we will only end up with a worse deal than what we have now, but with no influence.
I don't care.
But that was the key thing, Cameron. Because if Parliament then votes down a deal which is basically essentially a harder form of Brexit, and we have just basically a worse deal than now with no influence. What's the fucking point? Because that's the worst of both worlds. That's going to piss off all of you leavers, and it's going to piss off people like me and James who are Remainers too. So it's like what's like, yeah, basically.
Well, it's assuming that some sort of deal will be permanent, and there won't be mass opposition from the Conservative Party. No, like if Theresa May says, "Oh, we're going to stay in the single market," what's going to happen to her?
Well, I mean, she's going to go anyway. I thought we already established that.
Yes, but it's going to speed the things up. That's the point, and it's going to give someone like more momentum.
But even then, like James said very rightly, do you think he is magically going to pull some rabbit out of a hat?
No.
Wasn't it Ben who was talking about how Tory leaders are elected? It's very different from Labour, and it has to go through the Parliament.
It has to be more. It could be anyone, any Hobbits, right? Quote unquote. But what could happen? They could say, right, we're going to call an election, and they might try to go for it.
So they're like, bring out the guns and try out Mog.
But then,
they won't try it more. But with someone else.
Well, if they did, well, first of all, that would be a massive gamble. But secondly, when Ben was trying to explain to me the way that the Conservative leadership thing worked was way different to what I thought. It was like, in order to get on the ballot, there are X amount of people, and then they get voted, and so, and then it gets like whittled down to 2, and that's when the membership votes on it.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, well, if it goes through that many filters, there is not going to be enough like support in Parliament for Jacob Rees-Mogg to end up being one of those 2.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm saying. And James is absolutely bang on when he says there is no majority in Parliament whatsoever, and never will be for a hard Brexit. So that puts us in this predicament that we're in now, which is that ultimately, and I think you all know it, you just don't want to say it, that we will end up with the softest Brexit ever. That it will basically be a worse deal than what we have now, with no say.
The thing is, though, as well, is if there is an election between, say, a Mog or Boris, I think they're both quite similar now, and Corbyn.
They're too toxic, though, James.
The thing, I agree. The thing is, you're going to have 40% of the general public are like, well, I'm not voting for Jacob Rees-Mogg, so I'm going to vote Corbyn. Then you're going to have 40% of people saying, I'm not voting for Corbyn, I'm voting for Jacob Rees-Mogg. And we're just going to be back at square one again.
Yeah.
So hung Parliament, so 40-40 vote share like we got last time.
Probably.
James.
James, you're super quiet.
He's been going on and off.
Yeah, he has
while
been. Oh, I think it's just his shitty phone. James? James, don't leave me
Angels.
here by myself. Okay, all right.
Is that any better?
You need your centrist backup.
I do.
Am I back?
Yes, you are.
Yep, you're fine.
No, so what I was going to say is, every time we have a hung parliament and these Brexit negotiations are going to happen, we're just going to call another election until one party gets a majority.
Yeah, it's just delayed, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because we've only got we've got until the end of March to sort this out.
Yeah.
So, Article 50 stops at the end of March. So,
Why did they even call it with no fucking plan, though?
though this is the exact problem, why? Again, you can criticise Labour for this as well. Remember, Corbyn wanted to invoke Article 50 2 hours after the vote to leave.
No, right. The reason for him to do that because he basically knew that the Tories were going to try and reverse it. But it's not a simple matter because this idea is because when David Cameron, who basically called election, basically told everyone not to prepare for a leave vote. And that's essentially the problem with it.
And the thing is, he wasn't prepared for his majority, was he, either?
Oh, you mean going back to 2015?
Yeah, exactly. No, because he thought he'd get it better than exempt or something, and he could, in some way say, "Oh, I'm not going to do the referendum. Just screw it,"
To be fair, I actually don't think the promise of a referendum vote won the election for the Tories in 2015.
No, I don't believe that either.
I actually think it was the absolute complete useless Ed Miliband, and the Tories ran a good campaign saying if Labour get into power, they'll be with the SNP, and like the majority of people in England don't want some Scottish hating English running the country with Ed Miliband, for crying out loud. Again, in the 2017, they couldn't run with that because it was all Labour had no chance of a majority government, and there was a small chance they could go with the SNP, so they couldn't really go with that tagline of coalition of chaos.
So they just had to play on themselves being strong and stable.
Yeah, and the funny thing is now the Tories are actually in a so-called coalition with the DUP, so it's...
Well, it is a coalition of chaos.
It came to bite them on the arse, didn't it?
Well, the thing is, Labour in that election, there weren't actually that much different than the Conservatives. No, you can see how many Miliband policies taken. Oh, I can see that Miliband government will basically continue with austerity. So there wasn't very much different between them.
Cameron, isn't Ed Miliband your dear old MP?
Oh yeah, he is.
He's a bit odd one.
You actually quite like him though, don't you?
But if you talk to him, he actually says he regrets basically trying to be so much like the right or so much like Blair. He's actually more left. I think that what Blairite will go around talking about universal basic income every day.
That's true. But then, having said that, I've loved a bit of Ed Miliband since he did. Well, I know that he's obviously a backbench MP now, but he's been so banterous on Twitter and stuff. He just makes me laugh.
But he had to sort of restrain himself because of the Blairites. He was leader.
No, I like him. I
like him too, actually.
I've got a bit of time for him. I mean, I know that people call him a bit of a Blairite, but then everyone is called a Blairite.
To the left of Blairite. He's to the left. So he's probably between Blairite and Corbyn.
Brownite.
But Miliband's gone very poor Corbyn like that. He's one of the ones MPs. If he's never leadership, actually, could easily back Corbyn at this point.
I just love a bit of Clive Lewis. If it was Clive, I would probably vote Labour, which is quite to the left of what I technically am on quizzes. But I probably would because I feel like he's very unifying, and I feel like he'd be quite a fresh change and a young.
Because isn't he ex-army?
He is, yeah. Well, yeah, isn't he ex? It's not just army. He's done. I can't remember what exactly it is, but I feel like, and James, I don't know whether you agree with me here. For floating voters, do you think that Clive would be quite a good bet?
Yeah, I actually think again he couldn't imagine like the Daily Mail trying to slag off Clive Lewis. You know
Yeah.
how much they love a army man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like imagine like the
Served our
Daily Mail
country
headline,
and all that. Yeah.
like British Army, ex-British Army man Clive Lewis is running for Labour leader. Don't vote for him and vote
Yeah.
for
Well,
Boris Johnson. It's like, okay then. It just to me, I would probably wouldn't vote for Clive Lewis, but I understand he would appeal to a lot of soft
he's
conservatives.
territorial army.
Oh,
Yeah.
XTO. Yeah, see, I would probably vote for Clive. But like me and James still are in the same boat in the sense of we're in the same pool of voters. Like my dad too. This is my whole point and what I was trying to put across yesterday. Like if there was a candidate, as actually almost a candidate of any party that could capture that sort of group of voters, I think they'd be home and dry. Well, providing they could obviously capture their core vote from either left or right. But I just feel like at the moment, people like James and I have no choice. And like I'm arguably to the left of my dad, right?
Yeah.
Slightly, probably not much, but like slightly. But he's like the Conservatives are just not a viable party.
No. The idea you have no choice is nonsense. Now, in the next election, we've got a choice. It's either a socialist government under Labour, or it's either nothing will change Theresa May and the Conservative Party will change nothing in this country. We'll keep the status quo. Right.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Gary.
Right. The Vince Cable, right, will probably prefer the Conservatives to Labour, to the coalition.
Arguably, he is centre right. So yeah, but I think that he's ruled out, or at least he's highly unlikely to prop up a Conservative government just by numbers, because I feel like Labour is going to be the largest party next time anyway. I don't buy into this. The Conservatives are 3 points ahead, and even if they are after a campaign, I think Labour's going to trounce them. Purely
because they
of how bad they
made
are.
up 24 points, didn't they?
If they made out 24, yeah, exactly.
If it's a young party is going to put Labour in, that's a peanut. Right after the last election, SB said we're ready to put Labour in. I mean,
but then you're gonna have an empty rep, aren't you?
But Cameron,
they won't demand that, right?
But Cameron,
immediately
they might need both. It depends on how the numbers stack up.
The so-called Progressive Alliance, then.
Yeah, so like perhaps they'll need because I think that the Lib Dems are currently on 12. I think they'll probably end up getting around. They'll certainly, like I said, they'll fling Zach Goldsmith out. They'll get all of the sort of well-heeled Remain outer London seats, probably a few of the southwest, and likely yours, James, right?
Yeah, I think it'll turn Lib Dem my seat. It's only like
so.
a 4,000 majority.
And also,
then,
if she's quite useless, and
and the council seat, not the council seat, the constituency seat next door to mine is like another Lib Dem target. So if Cheadle turns yellow, then Hazelgrove will turn yellow. Yeah.
So if that, and I reckon seats like that are likely to, because of the state of our government, I think that they are going to heavily lose those types of seats.
So do you think that Labour are going to be too left wing, Tories are going to be too right wing, so the so-called moderate voters will go yellow?
Yes, I do. But only I don't think maybe in the entire country. Like some people are going to vote one just to keep the other out.
Voting, yeah.
I do think that floating voters who are maybe inclined to vote Conservative. Well, I mean, I don't like this expression, but it's like James and I always say, like a soft Conservative voter will now vote Lib Dem. Absolutely, hands down. Like. I know.
Like the type that supported, like, say, Cameron, for example.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
because they feel like they've got nowhere else to go. Theresa May's utterly useless. They've got a bunch of Brexiteers like dragging, who by the way are a vocal minority, dragging everything around by its nose, and they're like, well, that's not acceptable. So
we're good. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, Basdog will definitely be going yellow this time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what parties has he voted for in the past? So both Tories and Labour?
All of them.
Oh.
Every single one. So
so what about UKIP?
never UKIP.
You said every single one.
As in the major, like what I would call them, the major three. But he's actually gone all the colours. He went during the Blair era. He went left. He voted for Cameron. And now he just finds the Conservatives totally unelectable. So he's also quite an admirer of Daddy Vance.
Oh, okay. Okay. So who would you pick, your dad or Daddy Vance, if someone had it gun to their head? Who would you pick?
Well, clearly I'd pick my dad. I mean, that's like. But it's still a very tough question. But no, do you know what it is? We always laugh about Daddy Vance and all this, but I feel like, and me and James like say this a lot, right? At least he has stuck to his guns on stuff. He's never sort of wavered from roughly the centre ground. He doesn't go mental one way or another, and he always appears very kind of pragmatic in interviews and stuff. And it's like, well, like
I sort of see why you like him actually.
Yeah, because he's got a wealth of experience, and he's like, and
he was originally Labour, then he went to the SDP, didn't he? And then obviously
but he was always very much to the right of Labour. Like he's socially liberal, that's true. But then who isn't nowadays, except for you? But you're just a freak of nature.
Yeah.
But so he's socially liberal, but fiscally he's relatively conservative. So he is basically a David Cameron type.
Okay.
So would you agree, James?
Yeah, he's like. I'm trying to think who he reminds me of. I agree with like his conservative, like to the right economically, and slightly to the left socially.
Exactly.
But I don't think. I think the Lib Dems will do well in their target seats that they need to win. I think I put something on the chat before, like there's about
because I mean they'll target the liberal areas, wouldn't they? So like they wouldn't target say Labour heartlands or Tory heartlands, that sort of thing.
No, but they'll.
No, but I think any main party target seats that they need to win. Like you won't see like Labour in like Angels' area because it has no chance. But then you wouldn't see the Conservatives see, like, in
Lib Dems in like Cameron's area or something.
Well, you wouldn't see the Conservatives in Rotherham, for example.
Well, no, in Rotherham they have one Conservative councillor.
Exactly.
Not even one.
No, they have one Lib Dem, and a few UKIP still.
The Lib Dems just sandwiched in there.
But what I think that James is saying, and this is true, is that in like the outer London areas, which are like the, pretty affluent, sort of well-heeled, lots of professionals, lots of like graduates and stuff, then often, if they're not Tory, they will be Lib Dem. So, and I reckon that now there are enough soft Tories in those types of seats to totally fling out a lot of the Conservatives on their arse. I really do. I mean, if you think about it, you have the likes of Zach Goldsmith hanging on by James. You sent the link. 40.
Yeah, I'll just get it up.
Really? Hello. Okay.
And then
I won't be able to put it on the chat.
Who was hanging on for like 200, 300, and she had 5 recounts.
I can read it out. The top 10 Lib Dem target seats.
Yeah. If you just read out the first 5, but
Yeah.
like I think Zach is like 2 or something, and he's
Yeah,
like
yeah. So the first one is in Scotland.
5,
It's
right?
It's Fife North East, right? And the Liberal Democrats need a 2 vote swing. What they'll get.
Oh, they'll definitely get that. Yeah.
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 The
What party?
second is that Goldsmiths of 45. What they'll
Richmond
get.
Park. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna go there definitely.
There is one in Wales. I don't even know the place, but it's 104.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll
What
probably
was it?
get that, I'd say.
Yeah, and then the St Ives in Cornwall. What is 312?
Oh, they'll get that, I think.
Yeah, and then it's Sheffield Hallam. What I think they'll get because of, I think Cameron mentioned it before regarding like that
The
Gerard
issue.
O'Mara.
Jared Amara, yeah.
It's not just that seat, right? There's lots of students. The big problem is there's massive. Have you heard this? I heard about the tree felling campaign in Sheffield. About the Labour Council just cutting cheap trees down. Basically, no reason.
Oh, God. Okay.
It's been on the news quite a lot.
Will Clegg stand again, or would it be another Lib Dem?
So it'll probably go.
The Greens actually.
It'll probably go Lib Dem, and then like the next seat after that is mine, Cheadle.
Yeah.
And then the next one after that is again the seat next to mine of Hazel Grove.
I wouldn't be surprised if both of them went.
Yeah, and then out of the top 15, I could probably see about 10 or 11 going to the Liberals.
Yeah.
So that would put them on like 23, 24.
Exactly.
So they basically halve their total losses then.
And the important thing is as well is the majority of them are from not from Labour, from the Conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so like the David Cameron supporters, basically.
It tends to be at the expense of the Conservatives at this point. So, like, what the Conservatives forget is, whilst appeasing the so-called sort of hard Brexit vote and like the UKIP threat, what they're actually also doing is massively alienating their vote, which is more like the liberal sort of David Cameron-esque type vote, who are floating voters, and that's what they forget, and they're more than happy to vote yellow if they have to. So by ditching one, you are really screwing yourselves. So I don't feel like how this ridiculous notion that by following a hard Brexit everybody would be happy. I don't understand why they're still even trying it, because it's clearly not going to happen.
No one will be happy, whatever happens. Right?
Well, if no one's happy, then why freaking call it?
Well, there's a lot of people be angry. And
who cares? People are angry every day.
Well, that's when that actuals like that, we're asking for something very nasty to happen, like a revolution.
When was our last revolution, Cam? You're the history buff.
What doesn't do it? Like, this isn't really doing. Doesn't mean it couldn't happen. We're very close to it a lot of times in the history.
Yeah, and if my aunt had balls, she'd have been my uncle.
Right. Yeah, we got very close to them few times. We can talk about 1926. We can talk about even in the 1980s. This part of the country, we have got close.
Well, then this is like with Brexit, though. Like nobody, like you said, nobody's going to be happy about it. So, like, what is the point? Like,
what's the point exactly?
Well, no one's going to be happy about that either. It's going to be like you're asking for a lot. Wow. What Nigel Farage said, he said that Brexit stopped the rise of the far right. Now, what happened to things like BNP, things like that after Brexit? Any of the far right parties? They're all gone to the Conservatives. Or the voters.
You saw that
as well.
UKIP was it minus 123, and Tories only got minus 33 because of the UKIPers.
The reverse of Brexit is literally asking for trouble. This is not like in let's say Belgium. It's a very divided country. And trust me on this one, people are furious about what's going on. And this comes to all sides, all the sides. Yeah.
But then if we get a worse deal than we have now, then they'll be even more furious, surely.
Yeah, this is true. That's my whole point.
It doesn't matter about worse deal or not, or about your favourite of capitalism. Well, the bottom line is, whatever happens, people will be furious because nothing will change.
Nothing
We still have the same.
no.
We still have the same economic system in place. We still have the same policies.
But Cameron, do you honestly believe, like, and do most other people believe that magically by exiting the EU, which as we well know now, especially with transition and stuff, is going to take God knows how many years, as if that's going to actually fix our domestic policy fuck-ups that has happened under successive governments? Because clearly it won't, and it never has going to actually happen. So I don't understand why people think this. It's like people are seeing this through some rose-tinted specs which just don't fucking exist.
It depends what you can do with Brexit. It depends what government will actually and what they do.
Yeah, and
what are the powers to get back from the EU.
Yeah, I mean, the great example is manufacturing, isn't it? That's a big one.
Do you honestly think that they're going to stop being an importer? Of course they're not. Like, globalisation, whether you like it or not, has happened and will continue to, whether we're in or out of the EU. This is my point of just, whilst I don't like it, and whilst a lot of people don't, that's the reality of how things are. Like, how can't people see that? Like, this is reality versus idealism to me.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to change it overnight. I would love to have a magic wand and go, do you know what? If we exit the EU, it's all going to be wonderful. If we have Jeremy Corbyn as PM, everything is going to be fantastic. The reality is, it's clearly not. Clearly. There might be some things that might change, sure. And for the better, sure. In certain aspects. There would also be downers. And this is what people have to face. Like, I don't understand how people can't face this. Like, it's staggering to me how people are so clouded when it comes to the reality of what's actually happening. That's why I don't like tribalism, because it clouds judgment.
Can I just ask a question to both Cameron and Asim?
Yeah.
If a simple yes or no answer, if we got a worse deal than what we have now, is it worth leaving? Simple yes or no. I'll wait with having.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it
you
is.
think- Can I ask you why?
Because then we'd be less tied to the EU than we are now, and we won't be dragged into as much future integration, which is a good thing.
But we would end up with a worse deal, what would cause harm to the economy, to jobs, to many other things.
That's a capitalist system. It needs to change.
Yeah, but if we have a worse deal, what he's also saying is, say we don't have the vetoes and the ability to say no to stuff that we have now, then arguably it would be a shitter deal which we still have to go along with. And worse still, that we have no control over and that we're still paying for.
Now, this is to me, like, for me personally, I've said this before, if we ended up with a better deal than what we have now, however unlikely that is, I could get behind it, right? But the fact of the matter is, the EU ain't going to give us a deal that is better than we have now, because you'd have the other 27 other countries saying, well, if they're getting a better deal than what we have, then we'll leave as well. and then it would totally collapse. So they're gonna try and punish us for leaving.
It's the money, isn't it? That's what it is.
It's not really about the money. It's about protecting what we already have. For me, if this country is now going to get a worse deal, what would affect jobs? What would affect prosperity? What would affect people like you, who are just starting like me and you, who have only just started work? Are we going to go back to the times of when unemployment's that high and we're going to have hardly any money to spend on the public services that are desperately needed? That's why, for me, that's why I voted for Remain, because first of all, if we leave and we get a worse deal, we're not going to have a lot of money to spend on the public services that we need. And second of all, I do not trust any government whatsoever, even the most favourite government, with the laws that they will have. Imagine trusting Boris, Theresa May, whoever, with the laws from the EU. I don't even trust them with the laws they have now. Never mind the other thousands new laws that they'll be able to change.
Yeah, I mean, I'd arguably trust 27 countries with independent individuals actually saying yes to them when it comes to general things, when it comes to environment and workers' rights and so, over some of our twisted and warped bloody good governments any day of the week. Like, even though it's still not right, and I can see the sovereignty argument for sure. But also you have to look at our full deal. We have never been in a deal which says that we have to put up with everything. It's just that our governments choose to. And that's what people don't realise. Like, our governments choose to say yes to EU directives, rules, and...
But that's because they believe. That's because they believe in the United States and Europe. And then we could talk about Blair. We'll talk about Romania. Now, they believe in the European budget. They believe in one European state. Right? This is right. That's why that's happening.
I mean, I'll agree that they're pro-EU, but I think that you might be overplaying it a bit.
No.
But either way, to sort of ignore the reality of the nasty parts of it is also not good, because it blinds you to what would actually happen to everybody, including you, me, everyone. So it's important to at least understand that by accepting a very bad deal that's arguably worse than what we currently have, then a lot of people will end up suffering. And again, probably largely the people that could use it like a hole in the bloody head, that have probably already been screwed over enough by the imbalance in our system. Because I've never said that I think that it's great that we have, what is it, 80% financial services, that we're like so reliant in our...
It's actually, well, I was reading up, I'm not sure about financial services, but the manufacturing sector, it's gone down to 10% of GDP at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty fucking shameful. But to imagine that that's going to be fixed overnight because we exit the European Union, it's not.
We need to reverse it, go back to manufacturing.
I'm not saying we don't. But what I'm saying is that this idea that there's going to be this sort of silver bullet that somehow fixes something by exiting the European Union, I fear like it will do more harm than good to the vast array of people. That's what I fear. And I also don't agree with that. I always have arguments about this, right? Yeah. I always bang on about London and stuff, but part of it's just me like having a laugh really and like trolling. But I don't agree in our particular setup of economy whereby we are so dependent on like the financial services industry, because it's a bit of a boom and bust anyway at the best of times. And I mean, I'm a terrible economist, like hands down. I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about, but anything that's that imbalanced surely can't be good. Also, the fact
it's taking time off.
But also tons of people like you mentioned, right, who have been involved in other industries and stuff, just outrightly and blatantly losing their jobs and livelihoods because of that transition is not right.
Yeah.
But the main fact is we are where we are now.
Yeah.
Who is going to miss out the most? It's almost like a collateral damage thing. It's like what can we do which is not going to do maximum damage to the people that clearly can't afford maximum damage, and that's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying, I'm not like, oh yeah, let bankers get rich. Yeah, great. Nothing like that at all. But me and James are both just saying, look, there is no silver bullet, and you need to handle these things in like a pragmatic way or risk even worse stuff happening. And it's simply that. At least that would be my approach. I might be wrong. I have no idea.
Or the John Mills approach is the right approach. Focus on skill devaluing and investing in manufacturing. But the issue everyone's forgetting that everything about I'm going to sound like an anarchist now, but everything about our economic system is actually just a concept, an idea. It's not actually, let's say, science or nature. And people living under the delusion it has to be like this. I know I've been very utopian, but the reality is it's all man-made.
Yeah, I agree. It is man-made, but it's also living in an illusion. If that's going to be fixed overnight and going to change, and not
saying it's we need to do this gradually.
Yes,
that's what Cameron was alluding to with the John Mills approach.
Yeah, like it simply cannot be, oh my God, we're going to come out of this and then we're going to like vote in this government, everything's going to be fine. Well, it won't be. It'll be painful and people will suffer for it, even worse. And why can't people face that? Like, I don't see how...
Well, you're going to help that, aren't you, by not voting Labour?
Well,
I'm sorry, it's Labour that's going to intervene and actually stop things like that. That's the bottom line. You know, Vince Cable was going to do fuck all to help the working class. And that's the reality.
Yeah, but it doesn't even matter who I vote for in my constituency because I'm in salad fingers. So even if I was like suddenly sort of, okay, fine, I'm going to vote Labour just to get the Conservative outright, it still wouldn't matter because Philip Hammond's going to get back in with a thumping majority of about 20,000. So it really does not matter, Cameron.
But would you vote if it was a Labour Tory marginal? Would you vote Labour?
In their current state, I'm not sure. If it was like a marginal, I mean, I hate Salad Fingers now because of his U-turns to Heathrow and stuff. So I don't know. You'd have to give me a bit of time to think about that. It would certainly not be easy for me to do, if that makes sense, under the current leadership. But I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I wouldn't rule out voting, actually, which is what I've said previously. Because I'm not tribal, I would not rule out voting for any party if they were decent enough to have the balls to kind of address things that I think are like sensible and reasonable and not tribal. And just something that I could believe in. I mean, Labour's gutless approach on Brexit is, they're done for me now.
Well,
largely,
the thing is, what Labour needs to do now is they need to talk about their post-Brexit vision, and I think they can do some great stuff when it comes to that, but they're not talking about that. That's the problem.
Yeah. But I feel like the Conservatives are largely just caught up with Brexit too, and they're massively useless with it as well. So I don't really see any, like, yeah, like I said, it's not like I particularly love the Liberal Democrats or whatever. I mean, I do love a bit of Daddy Vince, but it's not like I totally love them. I'm not even a member of their party. You know, I'm not, and I am like a floating voter, but I feel like I have nowhere else that I can actually put that cross because I don't agree with either of the others. So that's it. It's either Lib Dem or at a push Green. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, or maybe I should just fuck it and vote UKIP.
Yeah. I mean, it depends who I'm going to vote for at the next election. It depends on the next election is.
I thought you said that you were going to go Green.
No, why would I go Green? They Remain. Why would I go Green?
Yeah, but it's not about Brexit.
No, I'm saying it depends what the next election is about. If it's this year, then it is.
So if it's sooner.
Yeah, that's what I meant. If it's 2019, if it's after March 2019, then Labour through and through. But I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah, but I mean, the Conservatives are going to deliver you a soft Brexit too, so it doesn't matter because, like James has said a million times, when the vote goes through Parliament, it's going to be a soft Brexit. Like it or lump it, but face it, for God's sake.
So, Asim, if there was a general election tomorrow, who would you vote for?
I'd spoil my ballot paper.
Why? Not against it, but just wondering why you'd spoil your ballot paper.
Well, actually, partially to do with Brexit and Labour, but also, it's to do with the fact that if Corbyn were to get in and if he were trying to implement his policies, the Blairites would just vote it down. That's another thing as well. Not just Brexit; it's about his policies too.
But wouldn't that happen in 2019? Like the Blairites ain't going away.
I mean, they'd be less likely to vote it down, you see, because a lot of this stuff is about his leadership and also about Brexit too. They want to scupper it, don't they? So they're going to try and vote him down any way they can. It's just about the context and what the thing is, what the Blairites are going to use, the surroundings to their advantage, aren't they?
Yeah, to me that doesn't make sense because even in 2019 and after the Article 50 finishes, we're still going to be in a transition period. So there'll still be votes going through Parliament where the Blairites might vote against their leader. The thing is, for me, I think if Labour got a majority, then the Blairites would get on board because this is what the public voted for. Yeah. If that makes sense. The public voted for renationalising the railways, blah, 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 yeah, even though the Blairites might disagree. So if I was you, I mean, I don't want to persuade you in any way, but if I was you, I would still vote Labour if there was an election tomorrow. Even though you might disagree on their soft Brexit stance or as such.
Yeah, but the soft Brexit stance is happening. Like, why can't people face the fact that a soft Brexit is clearly going to happen under the Tories too? Like, no, what?
I agree. But to the Brexiteers, I can see that.
That's just tough on them then.
No, I totally agree with you. But I think the Brexiteers are frustrated that. Well, they should have known this would happen, but they are frustrated that things ain't going their way.
Well, I'm frustrated that they couldn't see it from the word fucking go, to be perfectly honest.
But yeah, if I was you, Asim, I wouldn't spoil my ballot. I would vote for a party who you agree with domestically.
It has to be Labour then, definitely, because Tories and Lib Dems be right wing economically. But then again, like Labour are too left wing socially for me. Actually, that is the thing.
I mean that's bizarre. Why are you even like socially right wing? What meaning like disagreeing with women?
Like let's say for example immigration. I would be classed as right wing because I don't support things like open borders and free movement.
Well, not necessarily open borders, but like in the sense of that people should be able to exercise their right for free movement of labour, for example. When you have a job, why should I fucking be in a queue for about 3 hours just to go and work?
Free movement. I hope you realise it's a Thatcherite policy designed for the mass movement of cheap labour. That's why I don't support it.
Oh, no, I understand the weaknesses in it, but I also understand the strengths too.
No, sorry, I don't do that. I do believe that immigration should be lowered, but not for any targets at all. And I think
and all of this tens of thousands.
No, absolutely not. I think that's bullshit anyway.
But it was also never going to happen, so I don't understand.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm trying to say. It's bullshit anyway. But I do believe that we should try and lower immigration slightly, but not obviously tens of thousands is absurd.
Okay, so also, can I ask you? You say that you're socially not very liberal. So can I just ask you what?
Socially, yeah.
Okay.
Probably my main thing now is self-ID and the 112 gender thing.
Well, I mean, that is bloody ridiculous, no matter who you are.
No, but that's where it's heading, and they're literally teaching the shit in schools to our kids, and I just find that terrifying.
Okay, what about a woman's right to a safe abortion?
Abortion, it all depends on the circumstance. So, let's say two teenagers have a fling and they have a kid because they weren't responsible, then I'd say no, because you're supposed to. It's your responsibility now.
So why on earth would the government why should the government have the right to be involved in my own body? Like if I decided to, I'm like, okay, this is not the right time for me. It was stupid of me, yes. I've learned from it, and I'm going to make this particular difficult decision. Why the hell is it in the name of the state or people like you to turn around and tell me what I can and can't do with my own body?
Well, I think the issue with that is that you potentially could a conscious. We don't know. I think the controversy about this is that what right do you have to kill a fetus? That could be conscious. I think that's the issue.
Yeah, but
it's not about the right.
Maybe the bloke shouldn't have banged them up and kept it in their pants. Have you ever thought about that?
No. Don't come up with that nonsense. I'm saying this is why this is an argument.
It isn't nonsense.
No. Look, the reason this is a debate is because people do not know a fetus is conscious and should be treated as an equal.
Well, actually, there is a scientific argument.
I do. Well, Angels, in circumstances, I'm not totally re-smog an abortion. So, let's say rape, incest, and save the mother's health, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
I strongly support that.
And also, actually, what Cameron was saying is wrong, because there is a cut-off date for a reason. You know how fetuses, when they actually do end up becoming a fetus and developing nerve cells and stuff, it's after a certain amount of time. So therefore, there's this. They obviously know when it would potentially be distressing for the fetus if it was fully developed and stuff. And of course I disagree with that, but I'm talking about early abortion. Of course it should be offered.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be abortion. I'm not saying that there's been that's why there's a debate, right? That's what I'm saying. And there's actually recent studies what's putting that date earlier and earlier.
Yeah, I know.
That's a trend, and that's what I'm trying to say. This is why it's not going to go away.
Which, by the way, I agree with, because in my view is the earlier the better, obviously, and there should be a very strict cut-off in my view, because then obviously it is a developing human being and all of that. But I don't think that I think it's a massive breach of human rights to turn around to a woman, because what we've seen is that the evidence doesn't suggest that abortions don't happen. The problem is that if you outlaw them, they happen actually the exact same amount, but it's backstreet horrendous things which end up killing people. So you're in this dilemma now, which is where, well, you have to offer it, but you have to offer it in a safe manner, and you have to offer it in a way where, yes, okay, you have a strict cutoff, but women have to have that choice. Like, they have to know what they can and can't decide about their own body. I mean, I'm not going to turn around and have some guy from the government going, oh, you can't do this. Yes, I fucking can, and I will.
So I'm not socially liberal, but I'm socially libertarian. So let's say let's say for, self-ID, for example, I might not support it, but I wouldn't stop someone doing it, even though, I wouldn't agree with it. That's the thing with me.
Yeah, well, I'm very sort of, and I know, multiple people who have had to make that sort of choice. It's not like an easy one, and I just feel like people should have more support about it, and not just people shouting from the sidelines going, oh, actually, I have a say in what you decide for your own body. No thanks. No. Just no. So, of course, safe abortion should be offered for people, but you are right as far as the cutoff, though. I do agree in that.
Yeah.
And also, I agree in it's like I said, if you make it illegal, it still happens.
Yeah.
And so the evidence doesn't really back up,
It's like in Ireland at the moment, they're having a referendum on this.
Oh, yeah.
Exact situation.
I've heard about that.
Oh.
Have the results started coming in for that? Probably.
And
1 a.m.
Or what the Irish people do is they fly over to England and come over here to have an abortion.
Yeah.
Or they order
Backstreet.
stuff online.
Or backstreet stuff, yeah.
And the problem is when things go underground, it's hard to
it's unsafe.
regulate.
Exactly.
So I mean, again.
Oh, so you could say, have the example of, say, legalization of drugs, for example.
Yeah. Well, it's not quite the same thing, obviously, but along the same lines, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's. I understand where Cameron. I don't think Cameron's. I didn't hear if he was for or against abortion, but if it's your body, it's your choice. If you want to not have a kid, or you feel like you can't give the kid that full attention or full care, then I would rather.
Or if it's like a health issue or whatever.
Well, yeah, obviously, if the parent, the mother is unwell and again can't look after that kid, then that's unfair on the kid. Like, he will grow up possibly without a mother and possibly without a stable home.
Oh, did you hear about the woman that took her own life and her kids? Did you hear about that?
Oh God, no! But please don't tell me, because it sounds super
they
depressing.
jumped off a building and she took the kid with her.
God, no! I don't want to. Why are you telling me that?
No, I'm just saying, because you were talking about kids not having parents and stuff. That's what her reasoning was.
Well, I mean, I think that's slightly different to but yeah. To have already established kids and then just basically murder them is very different to making the decision to have an abortion early on, like when you know it's not like the right thing. I think that's a very different thing. But it's also more the whole kind of state intervention thing. I feel like state intervention trying to like get into like a woman's sort of uterus. It's like, what? Fuck off. Like, I can make my own decision there, thanks. Piss off. I mean, I think that is actually big state gone mad. Personally.
It's like how I always say PC gone mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
did you hear about Battlefield 5? It just got announced, and they're adding female soldiers to the multiplayer in World War II, and I just thought, bit weird when you're not doing it faction specific.
Oh, but it's PC gone mad.
Exactly. And you've literally got, in the trailer, they showed off a female soldier with one of those metallic hooks instead of an arm, and I was like, wow, that's a bit much.
Oh, well, who am I to judge?
Yeah, they made the set. They copied Call of Duty. Obviously, they did World War II last year, and they went PC gone mad as well.
Well, to be fair, I played COD.
I'm more a Battlefield person.
Actually, my Vinny plays as you well know PUBG, right? Yeah. And they're all like, but they always choose to play the females because they're like, yeah, you have like a smaller hitbox, so it's actually better. And I'm like, don't give me that shit. You're just staring at their ass. And he's like, maybe. What do you reckon then about like, because I was watching 13 Reasons Why season 2, and one of the characters in there, she's adopted. She's gay, but also her parents are like both like a gay couple that adopted her. And what is your view on like gay adoption? So like a gay couple adopting a kid, for example, from wherever, but I think she was like a Chinese kid who was like adopted.
But the thing is, it's not just up to the parents, it's up to the kid. See, it's up to three-way, you know.
Yeah, but as in, are you fine with like a gay couple adopting kids? Because I personally totally am, and I don't understand people's issue with it. But
I mean, I'm not for or against. I mean, it's obviously up to the couple, but it's mainly up to the kid. You see, it's not, you know, what would happen in the future. You know, it's tough on because it's up to the kid at the end of the day, isn't it? You know.
Well, it can't really be. I mean, if they're adopted as like a baby, it's not really up to them, and their parents are their parents, and that's that. But
as a baby, I don't know.
Yeah, you see, you are a lot more socially conservative.
I am, and well, I'm not even that relatively. I mean, Luke is way more socially conservative than I am. He's way more. You haven't seen him yet when it comes to his social views. And and I think George is very similar to me as well. Actually, probably very slight to the left.
But like, I've got tons of friends, for example.
No, that's you know, I would never. When people call me liberal, I just get triggered, and that's why, like I just said.
But I have like tons of friends, for example, but also like family members and family friends even and stuff who are like gay parents, and they're absolutely brilliant. I don't understand what people's problem is. Like, why is it anyone's business?
So would you allow someone who identifies as an attack helicopter and another person who identifies as a tank to adopt a child?
Yeah, I would. As long as they looked after the kid. I couldn't care if they were like, if they had.
Oh yeah, what was it? One of them is astrogender, the other one's hydrogender.
Well, if they look after that kid,
children well, exactly.
Support, I couldn't care if it was 2 males, 2 females, or they were attached together. As long as they give that kid a good upbringing, and that's surely what matters. To me, I don't really care if he had 115 genders. Like, I judge a person on how they react to me and how I react to them. I don't judge them on what gender they are or what their skin colour is or what their political preference is. Might judge them on the football team support, but that's about it. But apart from that, no. So I believe anybody should be able to adopt a kid regardless of their gender or their.
Agree, James. Totally agree. 100%. But I firsthand know people who are awesome parents who are like same-sex parents. So it's like, well, who the fuck cares?
Well, what about you, Nula? Would you be okay with?
James, your mic is really quiet.
And I'm actually I need to go off and eat in about 10 minutes, so I'm for wraps up.
Right, just before you do wrap up, I'll just ask this last question. So, would you not support two heterosexuals or two bisexuals adopting a kid?
Well, then it depends. I mean, that's fine.
Well, no, I was just asking a question. Obviously, you don't have to answer it now. You can have a think about it. But to me, the most important thing is that the kid is looked after, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
regardless of gender.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
frankly,
exactly.
like I said, I firsthand know multiple like same-sex couples who are probably some of the best parents I've seen. So I'm not like it's bloody ridiculous to say, oh, because you fell in love with this person, you can't have children. Fuck off.
Wait, isn't it Ruth Davidson who's having a baby, right?
Yeah, with her wife, and they've been together like ages and stuff, and so yeah.
Okay.
I actually like Ruth Davidson a lot.
She's a bit too liberal and Romani for me. So. But I mean, I do like her though. Definitely more than May though. Definitely.
She's like me and Jane's idea of like heaven. I'm like, oh my god.
If she was Prime Minister, I'd vote for her.
Like centrist, like
I'd vote for her. Definitely.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But I feel like
but the thing is, would I be classed as centrist because I'm politically and economically more left wing and socially more right wing? I don't know what that'll make me.
You're not really me and Jamesy type though, are you?
I don't know.
We're very socially liberal, I'd say. Me and James, we're quite sort of like, wait a second until you turn the taps on. It's not like we're anti turning taps on, and both of us can appreciate that this government is a failure. But like the 1p in the pound tax that the Lib Dems put, like all of those sort of more reasonable sort of things, we're both like, yeah, good. Yeah. It's not like we're anti NHS or anti.
For me, for example, I think that at least when it comes to public services, I think it should all be nationalised and publicly owned.
Well, it mainly is here in Holland. I mean, some of it's privatised now, but it's even when privatised, it's like subsidised.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to services and like essentials, not consumer goods, but essentials and stuff like that, I think there should be a clear divide between the public and private sector. They should not intertwine at all. That's another thing.
I'm not anti, and I certainly don't want to start flogging off the NHS anytime soon. You know what I mean?
But I'm definitely more to the left of you when it comes to economics, and more to the right on social. So it's a bit weird.
Yeah, see, I'm like literally anything goes. Like
I'm probably bang in the middle between a social democrat and a socialist, probably.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon we got it right then, James? Because you came out as a centrist, I came out as a liberal, but our difference as far as the description was not really anything.
Yeah, I think like you could. I think I'm slightly to the right of you, only slightly.
Like with Swiss, for example, I'm probably just slightly to the left of him, actually.
Yeah,
so you think you're to the right of me? Like how though, really? Because we seem to agree.
No, I mean I'm not talking like I'm probably like in between you and your dad.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
If that makes sense, I think on a few economic things, I think we might disagree on, but social wise, I think we agree on most things, and definitely Brexit. When you talk about Brexit, I might just say, right, I agree, because, but no, I think on a few economic things, I don't believe in mass. I don't believe in like hiking the taxes up constantly. I don't think you do either.
No, I don't.
But I also don't believe that we should chuck loads of money at the NHS and things like that as well.
Yeah, but to me, obviously my mum working in it for 40 years, I guess it's an issue by issue thing for me.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen how much it's just been failed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually, well, it's weird because people say political ideology is influenced by parents. I think I'm to the left of my parents on economics and to the right of them on social, and I'm pro-Brexit as well, and they're hardcore Remain. So
Yeah, but actually, when you do some digging with the health service now,
yeah,
to me, this is one of the big deals facing us. Like the moment you end up with the Red Cross, who has remained like really fundamentally sort of neutral, calling it a humanitarian crisis. When you have an independent charity saying that, you know that you're failing people. And so obviously this government is not fit to run the National Health Service. As for throwing money at it, making it necessarily work, I agree with James. There needs to be, of course, like an actual plan to reform it and to make the most out of the money given to it. But at the moment, it's undeniable that it needed just to stay afloat 4 bill. It got 1.8. So this government is literally, I think at this point, there is no defence. It's just unbelievable. And it deserves to be sunk by that factor, actually, or at least one of them, because it is shocking how it's been treating the health service. And actually, we aren't talking about like, it shouldn't be a political football anyway. I've been a long supporter of a cross-party agreement that there will be X amount put in, and then various different sort of things to make sure stuff is working and all that, because it shouldn't be a fucking political football, because we're talking about people in our country living and dying.
The NHS has been established here for 70 years, you know, it's not, we can't get rid of it like that. And what are we going to replace it with, you know?
So I don't...
We have a party in power that does not believe in the principle of the NHS.
Yeah.
That they believe in free markets, not a system for cradle to grave.
I mean, everything, when it comes to them, everything is about the market when it comes to the toys. Everything, including public service.
Yeah, but
that makes me angry.
Yeah, but it makes me angry too. But the reason why I think that you're misinterpreting what people who do believe in the balance between free market and decent public services think is that they aren't one or the absolute other. At the moment, there's no doubt.
The thing with consumer goods, I'm more than happy with a so-called free market, but the problem is with a free market with deregulation or no regulation, it ends up with, you know, monopolies and, you know, powerful multinationals, and that's what I don't agree with either. So there should be strong regulation, but I'm more than happy for competition when it comes to consumer goods. That's what I said anyway.
See, I don't know about you, James, but I don't believe in strong regulation. I believe in some regulation. However, I do believe that there should be a cross-party consensus on our National Health Service in order to make it run in the most effective and decent way possible. And I don't believe in privatisation of it, because we've all seen how that fucking ends up.
Look at America.
James?
And they think they can come over here and lecture us about the NHS. I think that's disgraceful.
Since you were a bit confused earlier, I'll try and make a point on abortion, about why the debate will never go. I'm actually pro-choice, even though I kind of, let's say, look down a bit.
Okay, well, good. I should hope so, as my future husband.
Oh no! Oh, did you hear what Shafted says? He says, "Oh, I have about £35, which is my food money for next week." And I said, "Well, I may be a poor student, but I can help you out with some food." And he's like, "No, I don't want to put your details on the internet." But seriously, dude, come on, I can help you.
Yeah, same.
Seriously, I mean, I may be a poor student, but I'm more than happy to help. Seriously. Because, I mean, I'd much rather put some of my own money to some actual, like, proper food than, like, junk food, which I eat now, so.
Yeah, and your bloody awful sugary drinks.
No, I don't have those anymore. I've switched back to fruit juice.
Which is still sugary.
Yeah, well, cranberry and raspberry, which is lovely.
It is nice.
Yeah. But
I tried carrot juice over there.
It's gross, isn't it?
That was nice. It's alright.
Oh my god, Cameron.
I like carrot cake, but not carrot juice. Oh no.
I told Cameron that our wedding cake is going to be a carrot cake because it's like yellow. Lib Dem yellow double tier carrot cake.
But then you've got to have a Lib Dem layer and you've got to have a Brexit layer.
Oh, but I don't want that. I want
But you need to
balance it. Yeah.
I think Gavin.
You know, was it what I'd say with Angel's and Cameron's wedding? United we stand, united we fall.
God, too right. But like, the thing is, when I think it was you, James, wasn't it? Like when you posted that suit, Cam's like, "Oh my god, I'm going to look like such a pimp." God, you will.
Well, pimp or crack dealer. Make a choice on that one.
You seriously will, like a light yellow suit, like with your skin tone and hair and stuff. You're just going to look like a total PIMP.
Yeah, probably. Or a crack dealer.
Yeah, maybe both. I mean, if we have to have a 2-tier cake, like you can have the Brexit layer, but can I have like the top beautiful Remain layer and like have a hat like the Queen's hat when she clearly was wearing a Remain hat, like an EU flag hat. That was hilarious.
Will you have like a big red bus as your wedding car? A big red one?
You sound like your mic's up your ass again, James. Sorry.
I know. I don't know what it is. It's normally okay. Is that any better?
Yeah, miles better. Yeah. We're gonna have like loads of Remain flags and stuff all around. Cameron's gonna fucking cry.
Your national anthem while you're walking down the aisle.
Oh, definitely. Kidding. Cool.
No. The other song's going to be there is Internationale, the great communist song.
No way.
Yes.
What's that? The red flag?
Oh no, that's a different one. Well, we sing it in the original language, so you can appreciate it in French.
Even my Welsh and Irish mum would be horrified by that. Who is like listening to it through. So like, yeah. My dad, could you imagine? My dad would be horrified. My dad would probably end up getting drunk with like James in the bar beforehand. Like, we can't vote for anyone except for Vince Cable.
Well, I would singing along, but.
Oh, I could actually get Daddy Vince to make a speech. That would be awesome. Could you imagine?
Daddy Vince, and then he'll be like, "We need to protect our place in the single market at all costs." Yeah. And then I'll make the speech with Cameron's side, and it's like, "Fuck the Lib Dems."
No, you can't say that.
Fuck centrism.
No, hashtag radical centrism.
Hashtag radical establishment.
No, I was going to Dad to make the speech and explain how Lib Dems are frustrated.
I'll ask George's racist granddad to come as well.
Oh, I could always get my dad's racist cousin to come along as well. Yeah, he's so awful. We're just absolutely hilariously awful. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm actually related to him. Alrighty, listen, I am going to go, guys. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. I need to go and eat.
Alright, well, thank you for having me, and I will speak to you later.
I'm just trying to get Shafted to see if he has my Discord, so I could DM him about the food.
Can't you just add him on Twitter or something?
Yeah. Is he on? I think I've got him on Twitter. But yeah, sure. No, anyway, you don't have my Discord. Okay.
Thanks again for having me. I'm going to hang up now because I'm still locked in the bloody bathroom, the tiny bathroom. But yeah, I will speak to you guys tomorrow. And congrats, by the way, Asim, on completing all of your exams. And now, some well-deserved chill-out time.
Yeah, 4 months of it, in fact.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I need to look for some work experience over the summer.
But don't worry about that right now.
Yeah, I sort of need to. It's very important because I need to, get a good placement for my. Not placement, sorry. Get a good internship for my summer, so I can get a good placement.
Yeah, like I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but the rat race will sort of start before long, whether you like it or not. So just enjoy your time off. All right, I love you guys. I'll speak to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up, and like Shafted, add me on Discord and just we can chat on there. So yeah, I mean, thanks guys for joining me, and I'll probably go off and eat now. So yeah.
See you later.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.